back. We are now, right, Public Works Committee from Thursday. This video will be broken up into two parts. It's 3 hours long. It's probably going to be more like 3.5. Let's just get into it.
Good evening and welcome to our Public Works Committee for August 15th, 2024. We will start with introductions of our councilors.
Dolly
on
Rancher.
The bottom row.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Derek Cahill, District 23.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mike Dilk, District 24.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Josh Bain, District 21 on the southwest side.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brian Mallory, District 25.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nick Roberts, District 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Andy Nielsen, District 14, East Side.
Boots, say it again.
Well, good evening, everyone. Ron Gibson, District 8.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Jessica McCormick, District 16, West Side.
Good evening, Chairwoman Jones. Krista Carlino, District 11, West Side.
I see Carlino has her hair pulled up. Where was she coming from?
Thank you, Chairwoman. Dan Boots, District 3, Lawrence, Washington Townships.
Thank you. And I'm Kristen Jones, the counselor for District 18. Tonight we will begin with Proposal 259, 2024, which approves the request of the Department of Public Works to purchase certain real estate interest for the Girls School Road from Perimeter Road to 21st Street, which property is owned by Arcadia Leasing and Management, LLC.
All right, cool. What are we buying this time, huh?
Good evening, councilors. Brian Kavanaugh, General Counsel for the Department of Public Works.
Oh.
As this committee is aware by now, state statute requires that DPW seek this body's approval anytime we want to purchase real estate that exceeds $25,000.
Good.
As the lead-in said, this is for the Girls School Road project, which is a West Side Complete Streets project. It will rehabilitate traffic lanes, install a multi-use path, landscape setbacks, and tree lawns that could support improved water, stormwater drainage. This is Councilor McCormick's district. She was kind enough to support the legislation, which we appreciate.
Of course, she loves spending taxpayers' money.
The address
Why
is
wouldn't
120 South Girls School Road, which is located a little south of the intersection of Rockville Road and Girls School Road. And with that, I'd love to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments from councilors? Anyone in the public who wishes to speak on Proposal 259?
Oh, I know what it is.
All right. Councilor McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excited to support this, and I move that we send proposal number 259 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to send Proposal 259, 2024 to the full council with the due pass recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. With consent, I would like to move Proposal 281, 2024 to the right before the budget hearing at the end of the agenda. Thank you very much. Moving on, we will hear Proposal 283, 2024, which approves an additional appropriation totaling $25 million in the 2024 budget for the Department of Public Works and Department of Parks and Recreation and the Capital Asset Lifecycle and Development Fund
what
for
the
the
hell are you
purpose of
talking about,
financing
woman?
local public improvements for transportation and recreation infrastructure.
Side note, Kristen Jones has still refused to email me back. Like a week or two ago, I was out canvassing on the west side. I was talking to this guy. He had his mirror. He's had to replace his mirror 15 times because people keep speeding through the street, and it's a narrow street, and they clipped it. And he was like, well, I want to put speed bumps in there. And I was like, okay, well, that's, let me go ask. So, of course, I told him, too, is like, Kristen Jones will not email me back. I can already promise you that. And what happened? She did not email me back. Surprise, surprise. So, Kristen Jones has not emailed me back. Jared Evans has blocked me on Facebook. Jessica McCormick, Fiona McCormick has blocked me on Facebook. I'll try to figure out. I was like, all right, who's doing this shit right now? What are we doing? On or doing here?
Is it up there? Do you know how to do it?
If Dan Parker's involved, that means something shady is going on.
Sorry.
Okay, cool. What is going on right now? IT problems again?
And members of the
there it
committee,
is.
we're here, I have with me Director Herget from DPW and Director Boyd from Indy Parks to talk about Proposal 283. This fiscal ordinance appropriates $25 million, I'll flip to the next one, for the Department of Public Works and the Department of Parks and Rec into the Capital Asset Life Cycle and Development Fund, which are non-reverting funds for both Indy Parks and DPW, meaning that the money will be there. Even at the end of the
I
year.
can't wait to hear about this.
Just to give a little history for counselors that may be new to the budget process, beginning in 2020, we have brought alongside a companion fiscal ordinance alongside the budget. And those dollars were dollars that either our revenue exceeded projections or there was money left over from the previous year when we closed out our books on June 30th. So this $25 million is available for appropriation for whatever interest we had. So typically, the first year we did $25 million in additional investment in trails. The next 3 years we've done investment in residential streets, which each counselor helped the Department of Public Works to choose those residential streets. This year, we thought, given some of the priorities that you've all shared with the administration, that we would leave it up to each individual counselor to choose the type of project that you wanted to do in either Public Works or Indy Parks. And part of that was just given the nature of the year with the budget, with all of the labor contract constraints on us, this was a way for you to choose what was best for your district. So each counselor can work with either Department of Public Works or Indy Parks, to determine their priority for one project that's $1 million. And so this would be the first, specific counselor-led quality of life investment in each district. So the goal here is 25 individual districts, $25 million. Each of you would work with whichever department you'd like. I'll turn it over to each department in terms of the types of information that they've provided. We would ask that if this particular proposal moved forward, that and got a due pass recommendation, and then the full council approved it, that by November 1st, each counselor would commit to the particular department of your choice for the type of project that you would be interested in. So
I want to know if that means city councilors will hold a town forum. Hey, folks, I have $1 million to spend. Really, it's your money, but hey, let's not get into it. And we're gonna. Is that a boy or a girl? I don't know. You think they're gonna hold an open forum for this thing? I guarantee you not. They will not, especially on the west side. Maybe Carlino will. No, but she's pulling her hair back far too many times for her to have time for us plebs.
So I think The first up is Director Herget to talk about what the Public Works Department has put together for you all.
Yeah, thank you, Chief Parker. So, as Chief Parker represented, we're asking that councilors choose one department, either Department of Public Works or Department of Parks and Recreation, to select then one project for $1 million. And I can unpack that briefly for all of you, and then for folks at home who may question that.
I do.
As Dan alluded to, we've had multiple
talking about us
rounds of residential streets and these one-time fiscals in the past few years. And there's some lessons learned, frankly, about delivering sort of scattershot projects across districts across the entire county. We lose a lot of efficiency when we have projects that are that scattershot. And frankly speaking, and I'm going to go into this in greater detail during the budget presentation this evening when we talk about residentials, it just isn't a good ROI on taxpayer dollars. Knowing that there's scarcity, knowing that this is sort of a live within our means budget process this year, it just isn't prudent to allow for sort of that Christmas tree approach. So from the department's perspective, what we've tried to do is provide you with some information to start considering what a project might look like in your district. First and foremost, hearing Councilor Mowry and some of the other councilors, Councilor Cahill and I were just talking right before we started the proceedings this evening about safety in your districts and safety across the county. We're proud of the level of investment we're making in the capital program across the entire county, but we know there are gaps. We know there are areas where we haven't invested in safety yet. And so what we've done is using the same fatal crash review team model, the new data set that we're using to do the road safety audits that we've discussed with you over the summer. We're using that data set. We've identified the 3 most at risk for crash intersections in each council district, and we've provided those 3 intersections to you. Beyond that, we refresh the INIP application information, which has an element by element pricing so that you get an understanding of what a sidewalk might cost in a neighborhood. You get an understanding of what maybe a half mile of asphalt might cost for a patching job or a rehab job in a residential setting. And so with that information, if you choose to work with the Department of Public Works, what we'd ask is that you reach out to Zach. Zach will find time then with myself and our engineering division to sit down and start walking through what scoping for a project might look like. And then from there, we can work off of sort of a realistic baseline for what $1 million investment will look like in each of your unique settings, in each of your unique districts. So as Dan mentioned, I think we're looking at November 1st to try to lock those.
That's crazy.
Over the winter months to get
you have like
contracts in
80
place, get things
days
if there's
then.
design work required, things of that nature. Even if we have to anticipate, for example, right-of-way acquisition or utility coordination, with the hope being that then by next year's construction season, we could have shovels in the ground and working in all of your neighborhoods.
There you go. Oh yeah, microphones are a son of a bitch.
Wrong direction. Thank you. Indy Parks has provided you with a list of potential projects in your districts. These are projects that our team has identified, but of course we're open to input from you all, and if you'd like to meet and discuss them, just reach out to me directly and we can set those meetings up.
When do us plebes, us normies, actually get to talk to some of these people? I can't even get city councilors to give me and email me back.
Park projects range from improvements that could be happening to our facilities, our buildings, to outdoor spaces. So new hard courts for basketball or futsal or pickleball, splash pad, comfort stations,
so fucking dumb.
Sports fields. So you've got a sort of a menu there for each of your districts, and happy to discuss those.
The one thing I would add to Director Boyd's remarks is that you can use the $1 million for land acquisition. So Indy Parks does have strategic areas that they do not have the funds to purchase land, and so that is also an eligible expense if you so choose. So with that, Madam Chairwoman, we would be happy to take questions.
All right. Thank you very much. Comments and questions from councilors. Councilor Cahill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick question, and this is, I guess, applies to both, but in the event that there could be overlap with a project we would select and let's say the NDOT vulnerable road user grants, and I pick one, and that is also one that is applied for, do we get that money can I move to another project then? How would that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's why there's probably a sense of urgency to sit down and start talking and deliberating sooner than later so that we can manage that type of potential conflict. I wouldn't want us to go that route if we don't have to, if we could prevent it so that there was an overlap. So I don't know if that's a sufficient answer. That's the best answer I have in the moment is let's start that conversation now so we don't have that overlap. One thing I'd add, Councilor Maury had teased this in a previous setting, was the concept of maybe an interlocal or the opportunity to do something with another jurisdiction. That's again something I think we'd like to investigate, knowing though that we have these deadlines and these timelines to manage what ultimately will become 25 pretty large-scale projects, $1 million projects, a significant project. I think we need to have those conversations now so that we can know with some certainty moving through the timeline what's realistic and what other jurisdictions may want to partner with us on. I know Vice President Brown brought up Lawrence as an excluded city as another example of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Carlino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I appreciate that question because the director, you brought up a really good point. So thank you so much, Chief and Director for your presentations tonight. We're very excited. We appreciate the adjacent fiscals. We've been through some really hard times where we've had to go down to operating funds and build up fund balance in the hardest of times.
Shut the fuck up and get to it.
This fiscal responsibility that we need to have sometimes, but also we do have some logistical questions. First and foremost, my question would be about tag teaming as sort of neighboring council districts.
What did I say?
Like, my colleague, Madam Chairwoman here in Speedway, what does it look like to make a pedestrian corridor along Crawfordsville Road have a $2 million impact versus a $1 million impact? And so,
what did I say? I said that they were going to do this shit.
Thinking about that as well, I think I appreciate and I want to shout out Director Boyd for really giving us the price list and the shopping list, as well as the Department of Public Works for identifying crash data for us, intersections of interest. It really does arm us with some data and allow us to go back to community, but want to just see if we could tag team.
Yes,
that would
we heard
eliminate
you.
and
Just
maybe
shut the fuck up and get
the
to
number
it.
of projects,
Good
for
God.
example, because it's a
Just love
an
hearing
excluded
yourself
town,
talk.
we would be able to maybe not have a project, but rather an allocation of dollars with an interlocal agreement to sort of improve pedestrian safety. Through
you're taking some
town. So
talking lessons
talk
from.
to me a little bit, if you could, about what that would look like and if it would make economic sense as well as sort of project management sense.
This
for
woman will not shut the fuck up. It's not even. It's like, did you take talking lessons from Herbie?
I like the creativity. Councilor Maury was first in this in terms of thinking about potential for, trying to bring in another partner. And I think as Director Herget said, Councilor Brown said the same about Lawrence as being an excluded city. So the dollars for us, we'd have to think about whether the investment is actually being done in Indianapolis right away. So in terms of that, as you know, in all the excluded cities and towns, there is Indianapolis right away in each one. So I think as long as whatever that project looked like, it's on a street or something. I mean, obviously, I don't think there's Indy Parks in Speedway, but if it's a road project, as long as it was targeting something that was an Indianapolis street. Would you?
Yeah, I envision being able to collaborate in that way, again, with just the caution of we need to make sure that from a timing perspective, we were efficient and we didn't want, here's what I don't want to have happen. I want to prevent sometime next spring a paperwork issue with another town, with a separate unit of government, precluding us from moving forward with a project that you all would have committed to your neighborhoods, we would have committed to the neighborhoods. That doesn't set us up for success. So I think in this initial phase of this is the first time we're doing it, we ought to be cautious. I think we can be creative, but we ought to be cautious as well.
The reason why he brings this up, so Speedway would be an excluded city. It's part of Marion County, but not Indianapolis. And she's talking about Crawfordsville Road that goes directly into Speedway.
The one thing I would add, Councilor Carlino, is I think Brian was just up here in terms of talking about land acquisition. If the project that you're thinking about is in an excluded town and you need land acquisition, the department would have to probably do an interlocal agreement with the town, which then would require both the town board and the city county council to
Which would
approve
take
that
longer
interlocal
for it to
agreement.
get done.
Indianapolis can't go purchase property inside, or we can't use our power to purchase property in Speedway without their permission. So I think that those things, as you sit down with the department, whether it's either department, I would work through that as we're going through the process towards November 1st, just to get the intellectual knowledge that the departments have about how you can deliver a project. But I think creativity is something that we're very interested in, and make the dollars go farther than they are.
Well, and I appreciate that. And Madam Chair, if I might, just a little bit further, part of even the previous proposal, 259 for the Girls School Road project, it sort of ends in our jurisdiction between 21st Street and 136, which is in my district because it's state-owned property. And I know the director the other night shared that he would be interested in opening up some conversation about what it would look like to extend that complete street and to extend that project through state-owned property. And so again, what does it look like to leverage some of these funds so that we have maybe an extension of that project and maybe a trailhead to greet that? And then again, there's this intersectionality between two council districts where we might
we get it. We get
really
it.
leverage those funds.
Yes,
and so
we get it.
Maybe it's my district specific, but it doesn't sound like maybe there are a few other councilors that it gets a little tangly with. So
All right.
I won't belabor
Stop
this
talking.
topic anymore
We
in
get it.
committee, but just want to make sure the public understands that.
Yes, we get it. Don't want to belabor
UNIGOV
it, but
is
you
a
keep
very
talking.
complicated thing, and we are really, at least I am
Yeah.
on the far west side, trying to help navigate that as much as I
She's
can
still
in a really
talking.
equitable way,
She's
so
still
that
talking.
both Claremont and Speedway and the citizens of Wayne Township all feel like
Yeah,
they're very
we
much
get it.
part
Okay,
of the
we
city and the
fucking get
county,
it.
but also have those safety features.
Jeez, did
that
you
are
get like
necessary when it
bukkakied
comes
or
to
something,
quality
and you're
of
just
life,
like going dumb?
and navigable streets.
you done?
That are safe for them and their families.
Holy
so thank you. I yield back,
shit.
Madam Chair.
Shut the fuck up already.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we'll touch base more, I think, offline about this. So I have two questions. So one is for land acquisition. If we have an idea of parcel or parcels, should we get that to you sooner? Because we don't have dollar number. We need to get dollar numbers on what that's going to look like for our 1 million spend. So what's the best route for those of us to report that to you? Is my first question.
We need to know the information on the parcel, and then we would have to get 2 appraisals, and then what we could offer for purchases, the average of those 2 appraisals.
So if you have parcels identified in our districts, can you share that with us? Because there's an expense to get those, right? So if it's going to be out of range, I think there's some conversation we need to have before we get the appraisals.
Oh my God.
But
This is so annoying, because anybody that has any kind of common sense understands how this whole thing would work. Do you even have a project in mind? Okay, now where's the lines between, is it in a city that you can't get into? Speedway, Lawrence. Okay, is it on a state road? Okay, can't do that either. On to the next one.
Way to get an understanding before we're investing any money in that.
You can't even invest the money unless you got a plan, though.
Yeah, I'd love to sit down with you, actually, and see. I think you've got some parcels in mind.
I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they do too. And then, Madam Chair, if I may, thank you. The intersection information. So we received
She looks like shit.
the fabulous park shopping list, I think is what you called it, Madam Chair. And then what it costs in DPW for infrastructure upgrades and investment there. But we received these intersections and locations as well. What's the thought on what we could do or what we could spend there? So what are we how can we utilize the $1 million that would be allocated to improvements in those intersections specifically, because that was not part of the dollar numbers that we saw?
Yeah, that's a good question. So As you can imagine, this fiscal got pulled together as I think OFM was receiving final guidance from DLGF and others and shoring up the accounting prior to budget introduction, right? And so we were asked to pull this information together quickly, and so what we were able to do was pull together the crash data. We have not done an analysis at all then, if you think about it, 75 intersections across the county. I think that's where it's, if that's the route you want to pursue, we need to start those conversations now, just as there's some due diligence that needs to happen from a land acquisition proposal perspective, rather, there's some due diligence that would need to happen intersection by intersection, because every intersection is going to be very unique.
Right.
You know what's really funny about this? It's August right now. If there was any indication that this was going to be happening months ago, they should have told the councilors and said, hey, there's a high chance this might be happening. It's not promised, but we're going to have to act quick. So whatever you're going to do, you need to have it ready. That way you don't have 80 days to figure out exactly what you're going to be doing. This was just, you know,
Perfect.
pure
So
incompetence.
that's a further conversation on what those dollar investments will be. Perfect. Thank you. I yield back.
Counselor Boots.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have 3 questions, if you don't mind, maybe do a couple and then pass it along and circle back, possibly. Wonderful. On this offer process, legally, there's been a discussion of we must, by law, offer the average of 2 appraisals, correct?
Yeah. That's what you just said.
But we can buy it at a lesser amount, correct?
The average is the maximum.
That's the max, right, not the minimum. So if we have a motivated seller, that we can offer much less than that average.
That's a good question, actually. Surprisingly, can we just
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a lawyer.
He's going to want the right answer. Philosophically, I can't believe we would be forced to pay a higher price by law if we have a motivated seller.
I believe that's correct. As the parks leader indicated, there is a maximum under the statute. I don't believe there is a minimum with not having a statute in front of me, so I believe you're correct.
Wonderful. Thank you. On the allocation of the projects, is it possible to, if you wanted to split it and fix your most dangerous intersection and improve something in your local park, would that be possible?
I said one thing.
We're asking for you to consolidate your
Yeah, it's just one
partly
thing.
because of the management of multiple projects.
Yeah, you're going to have like 15 different projects going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I just, if I may, I'd supplement that just to say, again, we've had some lessons learned after these fiscals in prior years, and it becomes very inefficient very quickly. It also becomes a major burden on staff to manage several projects. And so since this is the first year for this, you know, with if it goes well, perhaps the opportunity to do something like this again in the future. I think it serves my personal perspective. I'm offering, I guess, unsolicited, forgive me, is I think it serves all of us well to set ourselves up for success, right? To identify one project we know we can execute well, work through that process, and then maybe think creatively about future opportunities. But for today, focus on that one project that we know we can execute.
Councilor Boots, I would also add that if the project, and this is why I think I would recommend getting with both departments to see what your options are as soon as possible. If the project requires design, and there's going to be an inspection component, so you're looking at some of the $1 million is going to be eaten up related to that. So if you're doing that twice, you're paying for design costs and inspection costs twice. If your project requires land acquisition, that's eating in. So really just kind of taking in, by having that conversation with both departments, they can kind of tell you what you can expect for the upfront costs to get the project going. So call this, it might be your sort of tutorial in terms of the construction phase process for both departments in terms of an idea to getting a project done. There's a lot in between.
Sure is. Finally, can land be purchased that's unattached to any existing park property?
We would have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. There are certain situations where a parcel is too surrounded, too embedded in a neighborhood, and neighbors might not actually want that to be a public access site, and so we would look at each case. Our preference is to grow our current park spaces, but there are going to be some areas where we need more park spaces, so a new, brand new area would be fine too.
So just to clarify, theoretically, it is possible to buy isolated urban forest land currently not part of a park and add it to the park system.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilor Boots, I'd like to add to that, just keep in mind that if it becomes public land, the city becomes liable for that property.
And carries the insurance and maintains it and mows it and trims the trees, yes.
Yeah, and so, given that forestry is in the Public Works Department, we're liable if, for some reason, someone's in that area and something falls on them. We need to make sure that we can go in and maintain it.
Sure.
So forestry being in, Brandon, you know, if you want to add anything to that as well.
Yeah, I think, and you responded in such a way that I think you understand the concern, but just so, you know, viewers at home or others, there's a lot that goes into maintaining public property.
Yeah.
And so I think we would need to not only do the due diligence from
Cut all the
park
trees
perspective,
off.
but
Just
also
make it
sure we
grass.
understood what burden that was going to put on the department. That's not to say it would be prohibitive. I don't mean to say that it's prohibitive.
Boots,
We would just need to, I
you
think,
don't
be,
walk or bike,
fully
big boy.
Conscious of the decision we were making.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Leader Mallory?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just curious, and maybe you can give me an estimate, maybe you can't, but with $1 million, how much land would that actually get us to add to like a park, say Southeast Way?
Who knows? It depends on the land.
Depends on the per acre cost.
There we go.
Okay, so not really sure yet.
Councilor Bain?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Chief Parker and directors. I really appreciate this proposal. I think it acknowledges the nuance that comes along with infrastructure and parks in each individual council district. And I've already emailed the project that I think I'd like to move forward with. But circling into the land acquisition, can the city use eminent domain if a seller does not want to sell their property, but the city thinks it would be a good place for a park? And then conversely, can a city eminent domain part of a yard or a parcel for, let's say, intersection improvements?
Councilor Bain, we're going to have Brian come back up on the first question because that's a legal question.
Apologies, councilors, can you repeat your question?
Yeah, can the city use eminent domain if a seller does not want to sell their land for a park? And conversely, can the city use eminent domain to, let's say, add turning lanes to an intersection or create a roundabout at an intersection?
Yes, on both counts.
Okay.
I can't stand eminent domain, because if it's somebody's home, you're like, well, I want to put a park here. It's such a scumbag move by the government to say someone that's been living there for 40 or 50 years and now they have to get kicked out of their home, especially with the way everything is right now. How is that person going to be able to afford a home? They already have it paid off. And then the appraisal is like, oh, yeah, this is what you get. Well, what am I supposed to do with that? And there might be on a fixed income.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councilor Nielsen?
Just a quick question on just how these funds are moving. So I know that we have the proposal has a November 1 deadline. Well, not the proposal, but the policy guiding the proposal for November 1 selection. But when do these funds have to be spent? So I was reading the proposal and it looks like it's moving into the general fund, the capital asset lifecycle fund, but is there because I'm just thinking about some of the conversations with the interlocals, if there were delays, those funds still being available. So can someone speak to that?
I got a feeling they're still.
So a few years back, I don't remember the exact year, but I was still the director of Brandon's department. We started moving capital construction dollars into the capital asset life cycle where these dollars are going, primarily so because that is a non-reverting fund. So at the end of the year, those dollars do not revert back to the fund balance. Before that, the capital construction costs for the capital construction funds for both departments were in their general funds, and if dollars once they were encumbered would revert back to their fund balance, and the department would have to come back to the council to get them reappropriated. And so that fund that they're going to is non-reverting. And Lucas is here someplace. That's right, right? At least it used to be non-reverting, so it still is. Okay.
Councilor Boots.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to be clear on the record to make sure my tone is understood. I think this is a wonderful idea, and I think it's a very progressive step, and I think it's the first time this city has affirmatively taken a position of going out and protecting property.
You're not protecting property. Are okay with forcing people out of their home.
And giving us options to add to our Parks Department. It's never been done, and I think this is a great step. It is stage one. It's in its infancy. There's going to be some chuckles and rough bumps and what have you, and fallen branches and what have you, but we'll get through it. I think it's a great idea. I'm excited about it. It can add to our urban forest preservation program. It can add to safety. It can add to pedestrian safety, cyclist safety. I think it's a great step. I think it adds a lot of control to each of us in our districts, which is highly sought after as well. So I think it's a great idea, and I recommend everybody vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Boots. Councilor McCormick.
Thank you. Sorry, one more question. So the information that we received on Monday, looking at the DPW cost estimates, that cost summary. So it says for signals at a crosswalk unit cost is $25,000, and that's 2 signals. So if we have a 4-way intersection, I'm multiplying that by 4 because I have each section, right, of the 4 different areas that 4 lights each have their own set. Is that correct?
Nathan beat me to it.
Thank you very much for coming up, Mr. Sheets.
Good evening. Yeah, sort of. I think that figure is actually more towards mid-block crossings.
So Hawk Light?
Yeah.
I think, okay.
So to give you an idea, I know we kind of passed on a kind of a menu of options, but I think as Director Herget had mentioned, it's really going to vary based upon the location. I know some of you are probably thinking like roundabouts or roundabouts could be something that we would be able to add as part of the project. Roundabout costs right about now, I think the Raymond and Post, which is currently under construction, is a $2.5 million project in total. So unfortunately, I don't think we would see conversions of a lot of these traffic signals to roundabouts unless, of course, we get into the issues where perhaps there's an intersection that spans 2 council districts. And so there is the potential that, we could look at pooling that money together. But I think most of these improvements are going to be new traffic signals, revamped traffic signals with video detection, new pavement markings, resurfacing intersections, back plates, countdown pedestrian indications, APS push buttons, those kind of things.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from councilors? No? Anyone from the public who wishes to speak on proposal 283? Mary? Before you speak, Mary, we'll have a statement from our clerk.
I would have totally spoke at this thing, too.
As we move to the public comment portion of debate for this proposal, we would like to remind committee members and the public of a few ground rules. In order for everyone to have a fair chance to speak and be heard, it is important that we each observe the following ground rules. First, each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. Second, any public comments must reasonably relate to the agenda item under consideration. Third, speakers who stray from the item under consideration or become unduly repetitious may be asked to move on to their next point or conclude their comments. Finally, attendees who cause disruptions that prevent the council from proceeding through today's agenda in a reasonably efficient manner will be removed. Please remember that some types of threatening speech or incitement to violence aren't protected by the First Amendment at all. We will deal with those issues if they come up, but we don't think they will. And now, Madam Chair, if a committee member asks for consent to adopt these rules, we could proceed with public comments.
Consent. All right, Mary, you come forward.
Thank you. It's already a minute on.
No, it's not started.
Thank you and good evening. Madam Chairman, I appreciate this opportunity. My name is Mary Bookwalter. I'm a citizen of No Mean City, and I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. If the Public Works Department is able to chart out dangerous intersections around the city, I wanted to ask the Parks Department what green space you intend to purchase that makes and matches with the trails and the city plans, and what have you identified for the council? And I would appreciate hearing that. And lastly, I know perhaps it isn't for this meeting, but there's an archery range also involved in the budget. Is that my understanding?
A $7 million archery range for Eagle
That is separate
Creek.
from this, but yes, we have funding.
Oh,
for the
very
archery
good.
range, yes.
So I just wanted to suggest to any councilors who may be sitting on the Parks Department budget, I did call up to Cotiwi Park, and I know this is a little off, but up there in Hamilton County, it's the pride of central Indiana. It was constructed an outdoor range for approximately $780,000. And I'm not going further, but I think the one proposed here is significantly higher, and with a big S with dollar signs in it. And so I just want to say,
It will be
that, and
significantly
also in the budget for the Parks Department, in the wish list, I would hope that we didn't need prompting for forest acquisition in the wish list, but I thank you for that, sir, for reminding us. There is an opportunity here. And also, drainage and this too, forest acting as drainage as a public works aspect of this. I hope you're including that in your suggestions. Thank you very much. Look at that.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't prepare this, but I just, from tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public who wishes to speak on Proposal 283?
I totally would have spoke.
All right.
Yes, I would like to. Madam Chair, councillors, thanks for this opportunity. My name's Jonathan Munro.
Oh, no.
I haven't really been involved in sort of politics or any activism before, but I
Oh,
got involved
mate.
with the Forest for Indy program, and I think we had like a very strong public support for
Forest
acquiring
Indies, mate.
forests for the greater Indy.
Oh, no.
And I guess,
oh, boy.
Councillor Boots, I accept your compliments that this is a great move forward, and
Even
again, I'm inexperienced in
Adamson
this process,
is
but I
cringing
kind
a
of
little bit.
would have hoped that there was something more for specific parcels of land, given that
Everywhere.
the parcel of forest might not be in the district of someone who wants to acquire forest, and it might be worth way more than $1 million, say. So I see it's an instrument towards some good, but it's perhaps not the instrument I was hoping for. And yeah, I guess I'll just register. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. Oh,
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public who wishes to speak on Proposal 283?
Madam Chair.
All right. Councilor Cahill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just, I guess that not something that had occurred to me, I'm just curious, but if, along those lines, if Councilor Boots wants to buy forest land in Councilor Bain's district with his $1 million, is that permitted?
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
The choice is up to each individual counselor. What we're asking for is 25 individual projects, but if there's collaboration between two counselors and then we're down to,
No, I think he's
you know,
meaning like, no,
less than that?
I don't want to
Or
collaborate
if
with him. I
somebody wants to buy
want
do
something to
a
happen
project in
over
somebody
here.
else's district, that's going to be up to you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Counselor Bain.
I'd just like to register that if you do want to buy a park in my district, you do not need my permission.
Good question, Counselor Cahill.
Thank you, Counselor Cahill.
Any other questions, counselors?
Madam Chair, I move we send proposal 283 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to send proposal 283 to the full council with the due pass recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Congratulations. Sorry, my microphone off. Moving on to proposal 258.
It would just be the most disgusting thing ever if any of these city councilors were to have to buy up a property where someone's been retired there, they're on a fixed income, just so they could put a park there. It'd be the biggest scumbag move, and I would spend my life on just making their life miserable for all of time.
Which authorizes the issuances of up to $20 million of revenue refunding bonds for the purposes of procuring funds to apply to the refunding of outstanding 2011 and 2013 revenue bonds of the Stormwater District through the Marion County Stormwater Management
Looks like they're about ready to make
as a
out.
special taxing district existing pursuant to IC 36-3-5-8 to effectuate a savings and debt services advantage and approves and authorizes
Maybe that's
other
why
actions in
Carlino.
respect thereto.
Maybe that's why Carlino got a divorce. It's because she was switching sides, and that's why McCormick has been looking way more butch lately. She's had a little taste of the other side.
Mr. Glass, take it away.
Madam Chair, if I may, point of order before the presentation starts. My distinguished and illustrious partner, Hans Steck, who is sitting in the audience, has drafted this proposal, so therefore I must recuse myself from any voting, and we are pleased to have this distinguished barrister in the crowd today. So if Mr. Steck could please stand up, one of our outstanding senior partners who was brought out of retirement to help us with this project.
Here's a shit.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for.
Cares. Microphone.
Oh, there we go. My name is Joe Glass. I'm the Executive Director and General Counsel of the Indianapolis Bond Bank. Tonight we have two related proposals. Proposal 258 approves the issuance of stormwater refunding bonds, and Proposal 281 authorizes a related fiscal appropriation. So for some background, back in September of 2021, the council authorized the issuance of $50 million in short-term notes to finance a portion of the Stormwater District's capital improvement plan. They also authorized the issuance of revenue bonds to pay off those notes prior to maturity. So on behalf of the Stormwater Management District, in November of 2021, the bond bank issued a 3-year draw facility. The benefit of this type of facility was that it gave TBW some leeway in terms of when the projects were funded over this 3-year period, which was particularly helpful during the COVID pandemic. It also provided that interest is only paid at the point of each drawdown. And so now, getting close to November of 2024, we are prepared to issue bonds to pay off the note. Additionally, we are seeking to issue refunding bonds on existing obligations of the district in order to achieve debt service savings. So Proposal 258 authorizes the Stormwater Management District to issue up to $20 million in bonds to refund outstanding obligations of the district issued in 2013 and 2015. The bonds are secured by Stormwater District revenue, which are stormwater user fees less operations and maintenance costs. Proposal 281 authorizes an appropriation of $1.5 million in the 2024 budget to pay off interest costs related to the $50 million debt issuance. OFM determined that it was best to pay that with cash available on hand rather than to finance the cost of that interest. So the Stormwater District was created in 2001 pursuant to Indiana Code 8.1.55 and also City Ordinance. And under the creating statute, the City County Council must approve the issuance of bonds by the district. So some background information about the asset. The Marion County Stormwater System serves the county except for the excluded cities of Beech Grove, Lawrence, and Southport, the town of Speedway, and the town of Cumberland. It includes storm pipe dams, 40 miles of levee, as well as 9 lift stations. Here we have a look at existing obligations of the district. You'll see that the orange are the 2021 notes. They're amortized as 30-year bonds, so this will look very similar to the bonds that we plan to issue this year. The dark blue at the beginning are the 2013 bonds, and the light blue are the 2015, which we plan to refund. So our finance plan is to issue up to $50 million in revenue bonds to take out the 2021 note and issue up to $20 million in revenue refunding bonds to refund existing obligations of the district. We actually anticipate that number to be closer to $15 million. By refunding portions of this existing debt, we expect to achieve about 5% net present value savings subject to market conditions. So our finance team is here. As mentioned earlier, Hans Steck from Denton's is our bond counsel. Diana Hamilton from Sycamore Advisors is our FA. Wells Fargo is our underwriter, and KAVPC, the underwriters council. So tonight, we're obviously before the Public Works Committee. We anticipate final council approval on September 9th. We'll go before the Board of Public Works to hold a hearing on the appropriation of the proceeds on September 11th. We'll go before our board at the bond bank on September 16th, and we expect to price this fall in October or early November. So happy to answer any questions.
Any comments, questions from councilors? Councilor Nielsen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Director Glass. I know you've had a busy week with lots of bonds, so thank you. So for flood control district bonds, so I'm looking at 281. Am I saying that right? Yeah. So how are these bonds usually supported? Like how are they, like usually what's the revenue stream that's used either for security and for payoff?
I'm going to guess through stormwater fees.
Sure, so they're secured by revenue of the stormwater district, so the stormwater fees that folks pay
Oh, look at me. I'm just a regular guy, though. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Residential and non-residential parcels.
Okay, so then for this, for proposal 281, kind of what happened in the structure of when the bonds were issued that there's a one-time cash infusion to pay them off?
I defer to OFM to answer that.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Councilor. Lucas Anderson with OFM. So the way that these deals have traditionally been structured for the Stormwater Management District is to do an initial note that usually goes for a 2 to 3 year period. Those notes are annually based on interest-only payments on the amount of principal that we draw down for projects. And I believe Director Glass had noted that over the duration of time, we have actually seen a value savings by not directly issuing debt and following the structure of note and takeout. Knowing where markets have been trending this year and all the volatility we've seen, we did have an amount budgeted this year in anticipated note issuance, but knowing that we drew down the full outstanding principal at the beginning of this year of $50 million, unfortunately interest rates have not declined as we had so hoped, and so rather than incorporating the remaining interest owed on that note into the larger financing package, we're utilizing funds on hand to be able to pay off that outstanding interest and save the taxpayers on financing that interest cost.
Okay, so that you started answering my next question, which was, it wasn't drawing down, it was an interest rate effect?
Yes.
It wasn't drawing down more earlier or more from kind of what the authorized amount was?
Definitely not more than the original authorized amount. It was
Okay.
a matter of timing and unfortunately interest rates being higher.
Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So basically, to save money so we don't get totally fucked up because of the interest, and the interest rates have not fallen down, now would be the time, and we have the money for it, just to pay down the debt.
Any other questions or comments from the councilors on Proposal 258? Anyone from the public who wishes to speak on Proposal 258?
I will give you a little bit of advice. If there is a bond, which is a loan, there has to be a way to pay it off. Some way, somehow. Roads is usually through the gas tax. That's why you will never see Democrats want to get rid of the gas tax, because they need it. So stormwater is that's why you're starting to see an increase in stormwater fees, is because they're going to be having all these projects and they need to build up that money so they'll be able to pay the bond / the loan back. Everything.
All right. Go ahead.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I move that Proposal 258 be sent to the full council with the due pass recommendation.
It's been moved and seconded to send Proposal 258 to the full council with the due
McCormick is
pass
gone.
recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. We need to move on to vote for any comments or questions for the councilors on Proposal 281. Anyone from the public who wishes to speak on Proposal 281? Go ahead.
Madam Chair, I move that we send Proposal 281 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded to send Proposal 281 to the full council with the due pass recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. And our next up is our feature for the evening, Director Herget and his team for the budget.
Oh my God. And this part is going to take 2 hours. Should I just stop now? I'm going to stop now. Because it's going to get extra wild. I already know it. It's just going to be terrible. So I'll stop now. I'll have part 2. Whatever I put this out, it'll be the following day.